It is only the man who walks alone that is able to reach the highest of heights, for he has come to see with pristine clarity that every possible influence from society and its people can only shrink his vision and narrow his stride. A human being seeks one thing while attempting to flee another thing. He seeks to attain spirituality while attempting to flee materialism. Both pursuits lead him to dissatisfaction, for both are materialism in disguise. What are humans craving in this world? They are craving something sincere, something authentic, something without ulterior motive, something that no matter how many layers one peels back, there is no trick or gimmick to be found. Humans are craving pure, unvarnished truth. The truth is always arrived at through subtraction rather than addition. People don't need coaching on how to live, they simply need to understand that they are addicted to not living. The artist's job is to refine his craft until he cultivates the sincere feeling that any sum of money is an insult to his work. Things don't work not because the wrong answers were given, but because the wrong questions were asked. Questions are for the seeker, answers are for the beggar. The thing you must pursue is that which brings you so much joy that the thought of success or failure simply does not arise. Your greatest momentum is not the happiness that pulls you, but the pain that pushes you. The person who enjoys life lives it. The person who is afraid of life asks about its purpose. The quicker you begin to completely discount the views of society, the more you will focus on what's truly relevant. Life has never had any meaning. It has only the meaning that you ascribe to it. Man is a powerhouse of spiritual and artistic creativity. In his work, when he disappears, his masterpiece appears. The most clever way in which the mind avoids enlightenment is by seeking it. It is the willingness to allow rather than the compulsion to do which results in the sort of art that changes the world. The hypnotic pull of the material world loses its power when we are able to create a thin layer of space between us and the events. That which is done beautifully is done not because of us, but despite of us. If we were responsible for our heartbeat, we would be dead. Perhaps the greatest thing to receive is the knowledge that whatever you may get pales compared to what you already have. The exploration of who a man is begins with the systematic elimination of who he is not. When a man cultivates emptiness, the universe rushes in to fill the vacuum. Artists are the soul of society, for their lives are lived within the chambers of the heart rather than within the contours of the brain. Enlightenment blossoms when a human being tears down the structure of self and stands naked before existence as a nobody. The greatest freedom is the freedom from the mind. The only salvation is separation from one's manufactured self. When you stop building the house of your ego, you no longer have to live within it. Because words have not the power to convey feeling, language is the poorest tool of communication in the world. Speech inhibits perception, thought inhibits clarity. One can only give what one is. Once he becomes love, he has not the capacity to give anything else. Those who become sunshine can give nothing other than sunshine to others. A man can only give what it is that he becomes. Helping hands only come when you are at least halfway up the mountain. Nothing happens to you, it just happens. Ego is the face that looks back at you and the one that does your smiling for you. Perhaps the greatest wisdom lies in returning to who you were before you became who you are. Sometimes, in surrendering, we gain the world. Our deepest fear is that we will not become. Our deepest joy is in not becoming. When success and failure have no meaning to you, you are on the correct path. The world is a projection of the mind. When the mind changes, the world does as well. Creativity is like a reflection in a still lake. To touch it is to destroy it. Time is relentless in its consistency and heartbreaking in its utter disregard for nostalgia. If you attempt to make a life, you will miss it. Life carries on like a storm, and we sometimes inadvertently walk in its way and take it personally. For as long as a person believes that life is something to be molded rather than experienced, he will always be in crisis. The ambitious man always dreams before he achieves. The decided man achieves before he dreams. The reason that nature is so beautiful is because it doesn't put on a face. Perhaps the healthiest glow comes from the dissolution of the need to impress. No matter the outward appearances, human beings do not run towards anything. They run away from themselves. Anxiety is a function of hope. The enlightened man smiles, for he realizes that he spent his life chasing what was with him all along. A friend is an enemy in training. If he praises you today, he will curse you tomorrow. The greatest prison is the mind, which makes you believe that you made those choices. Intellectuals use knowledge to anesthetize themselves from the callings of their heart. The greatest book writes itself, and the author would be found guilty in a court of law if he had to prove he wrote the words. The most valuable tool would be a clock on the wall and a watch on the wrist, not telling what time it is, but how much time we have left. Few human beings truly want their problems to go away, for they are afraid of who they would be without them. When a man is completely available to his art, he becomes receptive to the subtle messages that flow through the universe that surrounds him. Man has a habit of losing himself in dialogue in order to avoid his inner voice. The world becomes easier to dispel once you realize that it is your mind that has created it. Intuition is the whisper of truth available to he who learns to listen. Worry is about a future that will never arrive and the past that will never return. A man's potential arises in direct proportion to the degree to which he disappears into his art. The need to gain something from meditation disrupts meditation, for meditation is about becoming less rather than more. Life is full of suffering, and he who does not realize this is the one who suffers the most. When the mind retreats, the tongue becomes wise. In returning to the ocean, the wave realizes that its greatest power lies in falling rather than standing. Knowledge and reason take you to the edge of the cliff. If you wish to know the truth, you must be willing to jump. Thank you for listening. For the original thoughts, follow Kapil Gupta MD on Twitter. Enjoy.